What do you say we get a look at the new Defining Moments Undertaker figure? This one came out pretty recently. It's just a repaint of the San Diego figure from a few years back. I'm personally glad they redid it since the SDCC one was going for some crazy money. And actually for me, this new one's better, color scheme wise. It has all the same elite articulation you could expect, and the paint apps are pretty spot on my figure. They made him a little too thin, especially considering in this era, The Undertaker was notoriously in the worst shape of his career at that point. But I'm alright with it. I mean, it makes his entrance gear easier to fit on. Side by side with the first good version of this Undertaker, the Jakks Titantron Live figure, and you can see that the obvious improvements go to Mattel. I mean, it's pretty much better in every way, except for the head. For some reason, Jakks real scan technology still holds up today, and remains better, in my opinion, than Mattel's head sculpts by and large. Well, that's just my view. I mean, who really cares about my opinion, right? I mean, I guess you do, or else you wouldn't be watching this video. The thing about this, as nice as this figure is, and as awesome of a job Mattel did, it's forever going to be tarnished because of the time frame it was based on. This era, the Ministry, and Undertaker in general in 1999 was the worst version of Undertaker there ever was. I know I'm going to get a lot of internet heat from kids under 13 who think that everything about the Attitude Era was absolute brilliance, but trust me, I was there. Let me educate you as to just how stupid this whole thing really was. So, get a drink, settle in, Captain's going to level with you. Let's start at the end of 1998. By then, Undertaker was already talking about the Ministry. He had a buried alive match with Steve Austin at Rock Bottom in Your House, which he lost. Then he showed up on Raw the following month, except now he's a creepy cult leader who was dressed like Satan. He even started using obvious symbology along with his evil new costume. The Attitude Era did a lot of things really well, but subtlety was definitely not one of them. But, hey, we'll just go along with it, sure. Anyway, so this new version of Undertaker did stuff like light his symbol on fire and sacrifice people in pagan ceremonies. Now, to be fair, he was doing this stuff in 1998 also. He also showed that he had no problems killing people, since we watched him try to embalm Stone Cold Steve Austin alive. We'll come back to the attempted murder thing in a little while. So after he was back from being buried alive, in his first appearance back on Raw, he made a demonic, occult-influenced speech about the Ministry taking over the WWF. He then cut his wrist with a giant knife, bled into a weird goblet thing, and made some guy drink his blood. Which I guess is how everybody joins the Ministry. By the way, in case you're wondering at this point if the Attitude Era could or should ever come back today, the answer is no. Satan later starts a feud with Vince McMahon, which winds up with him fighting Big Boss Man at WrestleMania. Now, the Boss Man was Vince's head of security, so it makes sense. And of course, Undertaker won the match. But what WWE has tried to make people forget about is that after the match, Undertaker once again attempts to murder a man. This time, along with Edge, Christian, and Gangrel, Undertaker ties a noose around Boss Man's neck and hangs him to die. That wasn't on the back of the box for this toy I just bought. I guess that isn't a very PG thing to write on a figure marketed to children. Wait, Ultimate Rivals? I don't really think that was true either. The Phenom? What the hell's going on with this? Getting back on track, Undertaker then tries to marry Stephanie McMahon in her first of 3 televised weddings in the year 1999. Now this is to further his plot against Vince, but then it kind of turns out Vince is actually behind everything and has been all along. So that's the end of that feud, I guess. Undertaker then wins the championship at Over the Edge. But not too many people really seem to remember this, though. I guess maybe something else way more important might have happened that night. So he defended the championship a few times throughout the early summer, and eventually had to face Stone Cold in a First Blood match. The stipulation was, if Austin won, Vince would never be allowed on WWF TV ever again. Now the contract was signed by Vince after Undertaker busted Austin open and stabbed him in the head with a pen so that Vince could sign the contract in Austin's own blood. Now you see what I mean about all this being stupid? Attitude Era. Still not coming back. Well, Stone Cold won the match, so Vince had to leave TV forever. He would never be seen again. Spoiler alert. Vince not only returned to TV a few short months after this, but by the end of the year, he was the WWF champ. After that, the Ministry was all basically gone already, so Undertaker now formed an unholy alliance with Big Show. But he didn't really do anything. He even started forgetting his Satan costume at home, and he would just kind of show up on TV wearing whatever. I mean, he looked like he belonged at Sturgis biker rally more than in a Ministry. Which, ironically, would become his gimmick the following year, and would last until yet another buried alive match in 2003. So there it is, the end of The Undertaker and his Ministry persona. Another byproduct of nostalgia and rose-tinted Attitude Era reverence. Now this figure's excellent, don't get me wrong, buy it if you see it. But I just hope that you treat it better than how The Undertaker was actually portrayed during this time in his career. I'm Captain McKay, and I'll see you next time.